I shouldn't say for sure. We haven't even set
We haven't.
groundworks.
Yeah, we haven't
Groundworks for what we're
defined
comparing.
what we're.
That's such a. This is where I'm genuinely trying to grow. Is in arguing. Is actually coming up with arguments, not just saying for sure
Oh,
at
yeah.
the top of my lungs.
That's a good one. Yeah, you should definitely.
Winners use drugs.
I decided to just start listening to stuff I don't understand until I understand it.
Right. Right.
Because it's like anything. It's like I'll learn about it. It'll just take time. It'll sound like gibberish off the start. So he's always talking to like crazy smart people about like really complex issues. I'm like, holy shit! Like these are the kind of people that would like. I would make some comment about something, just like, oh, that's stupid. And they would eviscerate me and be like,
Yeah.
you.
Well, they wouldn't eviscerate you. It would like, they would stumble, right? Because they wouldn't expect it to be so simplistic, And they'd be like, what? And they'd have to go back. Okay, we're gonna start at the basics then. That's
No way. Those
That's how
people
it'd
those
be.
people would make me feel like such a tool for having such a strong opinion about something.
Oh, okay, yeah.
They would just be like, what Neanderthal just lets his impulses go like this and lets his emotions take over. And
Yeah, I mean, I want an intelligent person to try to eviscerate some of my opinions. I feel like they never get.
challenge.
Yeah, they're never given the actual beating that they deserve, right?
Yeah.
People
Yeah.
either just outright dismiss them because they don't want to engage, or they just give some canned bullshit response, right?
Right. Yeah. What idea do you think you need to be challenged on the most?
Well, I'm pretty. It's pretty regular for me to consider most of my ideas like rock solid. I wouldn't know, right? I'd have to send them out there and see what happens.
You'd have to just have it come up and be
Yeah,
like, oh,
yeah.
whoa, I didn't know I held this position.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
If I had if I had an idea that I felt needed to be challenged, I would have already been pondering it and refining it and thinking about
Right.
it in a way until I no longer felt that about it.
Right. I was thinking today, like, just a random thought about policing and, like, would I feel oppressed by police, or, like, would I hate police as much if there was separate division that was just all traffic? These guys, all they did was traffic. They were the fucking people that, did speeding, and we could just all fucking rage at them.
Right.
Whereas, like, cops, you want to be coming to, like,
Yeah.
after a Jesus Christ, burglary.
Right. Right. Yeah,
come
like
interview.
we have parking, there's a separate force for parking, right? Enforces parking rules, but they aren't part of the police. So what you're saying is have that for other kind of traffic.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
And
that'd
just
be-
and like how much better would that be for police's image, for one?
Yeah.
And also, then we could defund it without fucking saying defund the police, right? Like we could be like, all right, let's get rid of these $10,000 traffic lights and shit
Yeah. Yeah.
that are just fucking raking money. Like that's not how we want to be taxing our citizens. We don't feel like that's the...
Yeah, well, I'm okay with a system where you tax citizens for minor infractions. Like if that's how you want to make money, fine.
Oh, but it just adds up to just social, just societal,
yeah.
just pissing everyone off and just, ugh.
Well, the problem
You can't
is
rate that.
The problem is that you incentivize a police force to care more about that particular thing than they do about real crimes, right?
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
Right. It in theory it seems like good. It's like, oh, the people who are speeding and are being assholes on the road will pay more than someone who doesn't. In theory, that seems like a good idea, but in practice, it doesn't work out.
Yeah. Well, I just think of all those like policies that get put in that don't take into the fact, like take in that annoyance factor. Like, how much is this going to elevate societal just anger, like base level, like, you know, that
Yeah.
kind of like like city energy that's like you're just kind of a little pissed off all the time while driving. Whereas if you're in like a small town, you're not getting like revved up on Main Street being like, "Get the fuck out of my way, bud!" Like the guy in front, the one
Yeah.
guy in front of you.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. Is that really a thing? Like, is annoyance for traffic rules really that much of a social factor?
Well, like, have you been like you're from the States, right?
No,
You're not from the States.
I'm not from the States.
Okay.
I'm Canadian born and raised.
Okay. What's the biggest like city you went to in the States?
Probably Seattle.
Yeah. So like when you were there, did you think, oh man, this is a bunch of chill people driving around?
No, yeah, the traffic was fucked. But that's the thing, right? It wasn't the traffic rules that pissed me off. It's the other drivers that pissed me off.
Yeah.
The rules are there to like make other drivers less annoying.
Yeah, yeah. But I'm saying we should like the rules should be so. I think it also we always talk about this, but it always starts at driver's licenses. It's like they should be harder to get,
Yeah.
way harder to get. Like it should be a talent. This should be a skill you have to do it. It shouldn't be everyone should be able to do it anymore because there's things that are available to you, you know.
Yeah, but how do you get good at driving without a driver's license?
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like you should be able to test skills that are actually related to driving skill. So like how we've talked about anticipation, like you know how people
Oh, I see.
like one of the
Yeah.
biggest issues engineers point out is merges and on ramps, off ramps
Yeah.
being a cause of congestion, right? And it's because people can't anticipate properly. Like they can't look and drive at the same time. And there's got to be a way to test that, right?
Right.
So that's a skill that people either possess or do not possess. In my opinion, it's like a reaction thing, right?
Yeah, but the problem with that is some people have good reaction time and good capacity to anticipate, but they just don't give a fuck, right? They're just out there disobeying the rules, merging whenever they want. How do you test for just someone who has a poor attitude? Right?
Right. Yeah, that's definitely harder.
Yeah.
But I think there's a way to like just put in more. I like this is one of the rare cases I actually like the idea of more barriers. I don't know if it's just because I'm like I will pass them. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And know what, like, you know, that'll mean less drivers, which is more beneficial to me.
Yeah.
But honestly, I just genuinely feel like that would be a thing that would just massively help everybody if we got. Because I feel like it's like a crime thing. You know how like they always say like it's 5% of the crime is done within like a 2-block area of every city.
Oh yeah.
Like that whatever that stat was.
Yeah.
I feel like driving, it's like 5% of the drivers, if we just got them off the road, again, it would just bring that societal annoyance level down. Like you wouldn't see these long trains of like 40 cars behind a guy going like 40 under.
Yeah. I mean, I can't say I agree. I don't think more barriers to a driver's license is the right approach. I agree that in your assessment of the problem, but I think maybe a better solution is just construct cities that have other transportation options available. Right? Like that might be a better way to go about
You
it.
sound like my brother. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I understand. Like, I would like to move to that. I think it's in Copenhagen, but they've started building like these like bicycle suburbs and shit.
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, totally. Like, I mean, where we live, maybe the climate's not super conducive to cycling, but maybe we just need to be more creative about it.
Mhm.
Maybe we need like
Well,
roads.
It's got to snow there though too.
Yeah, true, but I mean, I don't know.
Copenhagen.
I don't know. I have no idea what the climate is like there, but
Okay. Anyways.
yeah, no, I would love that. Cycling is a hobby of mine. If we could be more cycle friendly in this city, I would be peaches and cream or whatever the term is.
I'm trying to get into it, but I'm freaked out. This will be my first year since like I was like 19. So I'm like,
Really?
yeah. I don't know what kind of bike I want to get, but I'm in a good area for it now, right? Like it's
What kind of cycling do you want to do?
Chill. Like anything else I do. Just chill.
Yeah.
Cruise around. Go from one person's house.
So recreational cycling, basically. You're
Yeah.
not looking for a way to. Oh,
Well,
I'm
I can
going to
set a
take this
speed
to the
record.
grocery store or things like that.
No, I absolutely will not be using it in any practical way.
Would you want to take it out to like the mountains and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Like those paths and shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. That's more appealing to me. Like it's the city shit that worries me, right? I've had so many roommates over the years that were like the insane bikers.
Yeah.
That were just like keying people's cars and shit like that when they would like cut them off and whatever.
Oh yeah.
And so I've just heard all these horror stories ever since my like accident thing that happened. And so it's just been building my like, yeah, there's no way I will get back on a bike on a road, even with these like lines. It's like, unless it's like downtown and it's actually fucking separated by like metal poles or some shit.
Yeah.
Like I don't trust it. Like people, again, we talk about it all the time. People are terrible drivers. So it's like, I don't.
Well, people are also terrible cyclists as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually kind of funny. Some of the.
Oh my God. There's a lot of them that give cyclists a bad name.
Oh yeah. I mean, I always say, I don't know if I've said that this on this podcast yet, but I always say like, if you're pissed off about like cyclists just completely disobeying the rules, just be happy that person's not behind the wheel of a car, right? That's the ideal, is that if a person just can't fucking follow the rules, much better they're on a bike than behind, in a truck or
Can I
something
also
like that.
give another helpful view?
Sure.
This is the view I generally take in life, is also that guy's on a bike. He's more likely to die now, which is great.
True. That's
So
also
I
true.
like to envision the death that will happen, and that makes me
Yeah.
very joyous when he rides past all the cars to sit in front of the line.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm one of those like freaks that like to ride on roads in the city, and I mean I don't even like the bike lanes that much because there's just people who are super slow riding in them,
In
and
front of you.
I'm trying to do like 30K, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like and so it's like I almost want to just get into the traffic, right? But it's like when there's a bike lane, now I feel less justified to take up a lane.
Right.
Whereas before, I didn't. It was like, what else am I gonna fucking do? You guys can just go around.
Right.
Whereas now it's like, oh, I guess
you
I
should be over.
Yeah, I guess I should take the bike lane. And now I've got fucking people in my way.
Yeah.
Nonstop,
Yeah.
right? So.
See, and that was my first thought when I was thinking about like when you asked me what kind of cycling do I want to get into, is I would love to do fast cycling. That would be great. I would really fucking enjoy that.
Yeah.
Right. But I can't think of going anywhere where there would be no people, and it would just piss me off. I'd be riding down the trail like so fucking fast, and then there's just some mom and some kid around a corner. It's like, oh my God.
Yeah, I mean, I
Suddenly I'm
could
bailing.
I could show you some places for sure. I know this, like I know the best cycling all through this city because I've been doing it for so long. And with the one thing about cycling that bothers me is you run out of road basically. Like you can only, it's like other types of lifestyle sports like skateboarding or rollerblading. It's like that's a lot more chill because you're not going as fast. But on a bike, it's like, oh, I'm at the end of the city. It's only
Right.
been an hour and I'm already the end of
You
this.
run out of real estate.
Yeah, exactly. So I've combed completely through the city. I have a really good section where I go just like up that hill that I'm looking at right now. There's like a nice quiet secondary highway with good shoulders.
Mm-hmm.
Tons of cyclists use it, but they're like the kind of cyclists that are also going 30K. They're not the slow
Yeah.
city
They're all out
type.
on the road.
Yeah. So a lot of cyclists use it, and the few cars that use it are kind of used to the cyclists because there's just so fucking many of them on
Mhm.
there. So that's my favorite one to do.
I was
So,
just thinking how funny it would be if this was a cycling podcast and all we talked about was cycling.
yeah. Well, I mean, as much the problem.
Should we just automatically transition into whatever we get the biggest audience from? So it's like a surfing community hears us drop
Right.
one word, they're like, "Oh, we're in," and we're like, "All right, we love the surfing community."
I mean, isn't that kind of how these things evolve, right?
Yeah,
It's like you
kind
just
of.
never realized it. It's like you find a niche. Like one day we might mention some weird ass thing that we inadvertently tapped into a niche that has no representation,
Mhm.
and suddenly that's what we're about.
Mhm.
Whatever, I'd be into that.
Yeah, I always think about these weird like just games that people could play with their like. I'm always surprised how boring creators are with their audience. You know, like your mom's house does a pretty good job of involving their their fans in, you know, like
Yeah.
bombarding Garth Brooks with comments. Like no real fans post on his thing, and so it's just like all them. But I'm always surprised creators don't do like way more creative stunts with fans. Like say a group, some other podcast discovers us. It's some massive podcast, and they're like, all right, they send us an email and they're like, all right, if you guys never mention drugs again on a podcast called We Do Drugs,
Yeah.
right? Like we will remain subscribed to you. Like 1 million plus people, right?
Right.
Like to help boost you. It's like we would do that in a heartbeat,
Yeah, true. I would.
right? Like it's
Yeah.
like that's the kind of jump start that you have to take that. Like it's like
Yeah.
it's like that money proposition. Like how much would it? I love those kind of questions. Like how much would it take for you to?
Yeah, but I mean, I guess I'm not entirely on board with stuff like that. But I think I don't know. Like I just think I would. Like we were on the subject of like, would we change this podcast if someone came and said, "Well, I'll give you 1 million subscribers for if you do this and this." It's like that's where I don't think I would do it. If it actually changed how genuine and authentic I can express my opinion, then I don't care. I'm not doing it. I'm not going to take that money or those subscribers and stuff like that.
Right.
Right.
Until I sit down and I transfer that into money figures and how you can quit your job tomorrow and we can live off advertising.
Yeah. Okay. But then we're going
And we're only giving up one subject. We're only giving up drugs. We can talk about drugs in our personal life.
no, I'm not saying like if someone came and said, we're going to boost your platform, you're going to make tons of money or at least enough to live off of, but you can't talk about drugs. That's fine. What I'm saying is if suddenly my voice is no longer my own, if I'm just kind of saying what they want me to say, that's where I wouldn't do it. Right.
Well, yeah, I have a high aversion to feeling controlled, so
Yeah.
I wouldn't like
Right.
that either. But at the same time, I can be bought in a lot of ways. There's a lot
Yeah.
of ways. It's like, please throw money at me. I can be tested. Like, you know, it's like, let's see what happens.
Yeah. Like one thing that I have is like a fear of poverty, right? Like a lot of decisions I've made in life have been to just not have any risk of being poor. So you would think that money would be a huge motivation for me, but it really isn't.
Yeah.
Like I just don't want to be stressed about money. I just don't want to be in a position where I'm worried about how I'm going to make this payment. But the next level where it's like I'm actually into like luxury living, I would love to be there, but I'm not going to
It's not gonna destroy your life if you don't make it.
I'm not going to make a lot of sacrifices to get there.
Right. Yeah. You're not gonna like undercut a guy at work to like, you know, be
Right.
like
Right.
he's cheating on his
Exactly.
fiance
Right.
to his boss or something.
Yeah, good example. Because that's something I wouldn't do.
Yeah.
If anything, I'd probably like help out that dude.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'd help cover
At
for
your
him or some
detriment.
shit.
Yeah, exactly.
Even though it puts me at risk.
Mhm.
But that's not a good thing. That's just I have bad habits sometimes in that way. Well, like I was thinking the other day about those questionnaires where they're like, I was thinking about those questionnaires that they have at like the dentist or whatever, where they're like, have you had a sore throat, runny nose, headache? And it's like, yeah, I have those all the fucking time, right? Like I've had like 5 sore throats this last year. None of them turned out to be COVID, right?
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of them did. I did actually get COVID, but the vast majority of them were nothing. I had a dry throat, and it was sore for that reason, right?
Yeah.
But each time I was like, oh, is this the time where I infect everyone with something, right?
Yeah. Well, I
So-
think I only see you and one other person. But you guys are probably in contact with a lot of people still,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Oh,
So
yeah.
you guys are probably both pretty risky people to me in theory.
Yeah.
Like, and especially you because you'd be carrying it without any symptoms, right?
True.
Like a
Yeah.
new strain or whatever.
Yeah, like the variant. I'm a bit worried about that because I don't know how that works. If you've had the original
Yeah.
strain, how protected are you against
Yeah.
these variants? I don't know.
Honestly, though, it's like, at what point are we just going to have to say, like, we just have to, it's like,
Get it? And,
it's just like, we'll do our best to keep up with vaccines, but like, Jesus Christ, like we just gotta start stuff back up. And like, if you want to go out, go out.
yeah, it'll get there. I mean, I think they want 80% immunity, right? Or even 75% immunity, and then they'll reopen, which seems reasonable to me. I don't know. I'm not like this is where I'm privileged because like my life has not changed that much, right, as the result of this pandemic. So I'm always like, lock her down, fuck it. Let's just get this over with, right? Let's go to extreme lockdown where you're in isolation for 2 weeks. Everybody.
Oh, I still think we should have done that.
Yeah.
Right
yeah.
off the start, I was like, just shut it down. Literally shut it down for 2 weeks. Like,
Right.
nothing happens. Literally nothing happens.
Right. Yeah.
Let's get it down to like less than 10 cases and then isolate those 10 people and be the New Zealand
Yeah.
of land, you know,
Totally.
just like, fuck you, United States. Like, you guys are garbage. Block
Yeah, like,
you
we're-
immediately.
We're like a rich enough country with a small enough population that we could have done
We should have
something
been able
like
to
that.
do it
Yeah,
and
totally.
been fine. It's not as if we need it. Like, yeah, it sucks to close business with the states, obviously,
Right.
but it's like
2 weeks, right?
now it's been what, a year and a
Yeah.
fucking half. So yeah,
Any business out there that can't survive 2 weeks shut down, they were headed for bankruptcy anyways, in my opinion.
I can't imagine what the numbers are going to be after this. But
Yeah. Well, a lot of bars and stuff like that have closed
yeah.
now. So
Okay, I have a question for you. What is one thing you wouldn't like? Are you a person that a person could offer you money to do stuff generally?
no. What do you give me an example of something then? I'm pretty lazy, right?
Yeah. So you would like if I said like how much would it cost to be your on this?
Yeah, like people have asked me to like build them websites on the
Yeah.
side, and I'm just like, fuck off. I don't want to do that. I have a job already.
It won't be worth the money.
Yeah, no, it wouldn't.
No.
It never is, right?
No.
Like in the last say 4 years, I've built one website, and I just did that for someone who was genuinely a friend,
Mhm.
and I wanted to help them out. I didn't even charge them for it. I was just like, they were trying to get something going, and I was like, yeah. And I wanted to like build. I had an idea for like the back end that I wanted to implement. It was more like something I was doing for myself. It just had the added benefit of someone needed that product at the time, right?
Mhm.
When people want some just like bullshit, oh, I have a carpet store and I need a website for that. It's like, no, thank you. I don't want that. I don't want that business. Right.
My heart just sank because I was reminded. I was like, I'm pretty sure I promised to build someone a website, and I can't remember who that is, and that was ages ago.
Right.
It was, I think, one of my sister-in-laws, maybe. Anyways,
Yeah.
like,
But
it's been a long time since I've offered to do it for anybody. I think it would take me a long time now. Like, I don't know too much modern shit.
yeah, well, it's essentially what I do for a living in a corporate sense. Like the stuff that I work on are like web-based apps, and so it wouldn't be that hard for me. But I'm just like, I love my free time. right? Like I'm not the work 60 hours, get ahead kind of person. I clock out immediately at 5 o'clock when my shift's done, and I don't want to do anything that smells like work for till the next day, right?
Do you often fantasize about passive income?
Yeah. Oh yeah, totally. I would love to have that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that to me is like the enabler, right? Like if I had a way to earn money that I was not putting in effort, then that would free me to do all sorts of interesting projects.
Yeah.
That would.
The dream is having that second property that's paying for both your properties,
True. Yeah.
right? Like so that you're living rent free and like mortgage free, right? Like someone else is paying for you entirely. That's
Yeah.
the dream.
Yeah, but I wouldn't want to be a landlord though.
Really?
That would be a pain in the ass.
But
yeah.
there's so many companies to hire out now, and it's so cheap, like management companies.
Right, but I think to hire a property management company and you're still making enough to live off of, that's more than one property. You got to have a few to do that. I don't know. I mean, again, like, what do I know about this shit? I'm not a financial real estate person at all, so I don't know, but
I'm so curious, like, what, like, because we're never going to find out what people enjoy listening to or don't enjoy listening to, because
Right.
neither of us are on Twitter.
right.
Neither of us are going to get feedback really, unless people email the pod.
Yeah, well, I mean, I guess if we could get YouTube going, that's how we would,
Right.
because people would leave comments and.
But do you believe most YouTube comments? Like, because for me, it's just like, these are all bots. Like that's why nothing on the internet would ever offend me. Cause I'm just kind of like, I default to it's a bot before it's a human. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, unless this is a verified check mark, like I'm not getting my feelings hurt. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, but I would like to get some feedback, like to find out what people enjoy or don't enjoy, right?
They'd be
That would
like,
be
hey
cool.
guys, that was cool when you guys were talking about stocks for 60 minutes, but maybe you want to switch it up a little each episode.
Yeah, or do some research before going into a subject, right? Because all the time we're talking about stuff, and I'm just like, I
Spoiler.
kind of know a little bit about this. But
Spoiler, we're never researching shit.
Yeah.
That's one of the beauties. We're going to speculate and guess like this is the 90s and there's no internet.
Right.
That's my favorite kind of conversation is when like you're in a car trip and neither of you have phones near, and it's just like, I wonder how far that place is to that place.
yeah,
When has that conversation happened in the 2000s? It's like, no.
yeah, that is kind of what we're doing here, right? It's like we don't Google something. Like when I'm normally talking with people, we're just like, oh, let's look that up, see who's right?
I fucking hate that.
You don't like
There's
that?
not to me. There's nothing more of a party faux pas you can do than to pull out your phone to look up a fact, even if you're right.
Fuck.
It's
So I made that
it's the
faux
worst.
pas a lot then.
It's the worst. Nothing makes me dread. And like to the point that I often now outwardly say how excruciating this is.
Yeah.
I'm like, cool. Should we count down until you find the fucking thing? Like, just it's excruciating to me when people are like, yeah, let's look it up. I need to know what year the fucking Walt Disney sold blah blah blah. It's like, no, you don't. Let's move on in conversation.
Oh yeah, no, I don't do that. But like the one I remember is we were having a conversation not too long. I had a few people over, and I just casually mentioned that men's hair grows faster, and someone was like, "What are you talking about? Men's hair doesn't grow faster. What the hell?" I'm like, "For sure it does, right? The testosterone. We got to get it cut more often. We're shaving more often." All of that. And they're like, no. And a little bit of back and forth. And I'm like, okay, let's just look it up. Right. I was wrong. It kind of grows at the same rate regardless of gender, but still, do you feel like I should not have looked that up in that particular moment?
No, because I know you well, so I know you probably read the room well. So it's like it probably just got to that point that it was like, this is no longer like a fun, let's present our wild before we know what's going on with like factually arguments. Like that's what I'm saying. Some people like to skip that stage, and that's one of my favorite stages, is theorizing why shit happens. you
Yeah,
know?
I feel you on that one.
And so
for
like
sure.
when people like, so I'm just saying like the people that immediately jump to like let's look up the population of blah blah blah,
Yeah.
rather than allowing like a guy to be like, you know, well, I remember the last time I looked, it was in the 90s and the population was 900. You know what I mean? Like allowing a person to tell a little bit more about themselves. You've
True.
missed that opportunity by jumping to let's look up the digits, which no one will remember post conversation. I guarantee it's not like everyone walks away being like, did you know the like
Yeah. Well,
I detest it. Anyways, you'll probably get supporters. I think it's one of the worst things you can possibly do at a party.
You make a really good point, because it's kind of like shutting down a potential conversation by doing that. You're like, oh, let's bring Google in. Google is like that autistic friend that has no social awareness whatsoever.
No. He
right?
butts in like, hey guys,
Yeah.
here's
By
a
the
stat
way,
for you.
yeah, right.
You're like, not right now. We got one 5 minutes ago. We're good.
So yeah, you do make a good point. In the example I gave, I think at that point everyone was genuinely curious to know what the actual answer was.
See, and that's the thing. Like I'm fine with it at a point, but I'm talking about those extreme like let's just cut out all the talk. Let's immediately jump to a phone. The other thing is you're immediately communicating to me that I don't want to know you anymore. Because I'm not a person that likes being with people that are very active with their phones.
Yeah.
Like it's not a thing I can tolerate. Like I've tried. There's very few people that like, I'm like, okay, I understand why you need to be using it, right? Like it's like,
Yeah. How would you feel about like a kind of like a Google Nest or Amazon Echo device that was just throwing up facts as you were talking? Like it was hooking into your conversation, and there was a screen. It was kind of like you had a
drive me absolutely insane.
You wouldn't like that?
No, that'd be absolutely insane.
Okay. That seems like, I mean, that might work well for in a podcasting scenario, right?
No, look, if that's your podcasting dream, by all means, start this cool podcast for Google and Alexa. Like, maybe that is a good idea, just not for me. Like, I would hate that. Like, if something was just constantly interrupting and distracting, I don't think that would make a good conversation. You'd be like, ooh, did you know the Amazon had 435 bird species?
Yeah. Well, I believe that will be coming. Like, there'll be a system where if you talk about the weather, it'll just show you the temperature outside or the weather for the next 7 days or something like that.
Oh,
right?
I believe you. I absolutely see that as well. But what I'm saying is I don't necessarily think that's a good thing. Just because it's there doesn't mean it's good.
Yeah.
People will adopt it. And guess who I will stop hanging out with? Like I already don't like, there's one person in my life that has a Google Home or whatever.
Yeah.
And I said to them, I was like, if this is ever I don't feel comfortable hanging out at your house really. But also just like, if this is ever a thing that's like something like you are getting distracted, like to talk to a lot, like that's going to drive me
So
insane.
is there a privacy concern for you?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I mean, how many times I'm very privacy.
Well, what are you concerned about?
Just, you don't want people knowing who you know. You don't want people having recordings of you. You know, they've already proved that they've like been listening to people's actual conversations. It's not metadata, right? Like they're literally listening to you. And like, you know, nobody does anything about user agreements, right? Like no government's pushing back being like, those are pretty intrusive, Google, you know, like.
Yeah. I mean, I understand what you're saying, and I think that's the obvious right answer. But at the same token, not if you give that data to an artificial intelligence like system like Google or Amazon, the applications are just so endless, right? Like there's so many things that can happen if you have some kind of technology listening to what you're saying. Like that's what I want, right? I want those things, but I also want privacy. I don't know.
Yeah. I have no desire, but that's the thing. Like allow people to pick and choose. Do you know what I mean? Like there's going to be people that are totally comfortable with that, right? Like my
Yeah.
brother is one of those people that's just like, let them listen to our phone calls. What do we have to hide? It's like, okay, but I can't put it as articulately as things I've heard at
Right.
like, like Snowden and other way more articulate people as to why it matters.
Yeah.
It just does. Do you know what I mean? So it's like I've learned that it just does. You do
Yeah.
need the reason I don't go hardcore about it is because I know that if that information is all being used against us, blah blah blah, that even if I protect myself, I'm still going to be roped into it because people I know and care about are roped into it,
Yeah, like the example that sticks out in my mind would be the case where a teenage a teenage girl got pregnant. She hadn't told her parents yet, but the algorithm figured it out and started sending her flyers for baby stuff, right?
Mhm.
And it's like those kind of situations, because maybe the parents, maybe she hadn't told the parents for a very good reason, right? And now they're inadvertently finding out because of the system, right?
Mhm.
So in that sense, it does actually matter, because even though we don't think we have anything to hide, we may inadvertently realize that we did have something to hide when it gets exposed.
Well, that's the thing. I don't want to have to think, what did I say in this conversation with my friend?
Yeah, yeah.
Right? Like, what if I said something that was like off color, whatever, and it's like, whoa, I'm glad I said this in the privacy of a home so I could think about that,
Yeah.
so I could never say what I just said again, right? But someone has that clip of you because you've invited this little spy device into your house. Like, I hate everything about it. And it's like, I don't even have anything too high. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just a general, like, that's always my thing, right? Like the, safety, privacy, PTSD shit. I think it's all related, but
Oh yeah, totally. I can see that. I mean, I'm kind of playing devil's advocate here because I agree it does matter. I want us also to. I don't want us to take the position that it just matters and we're not thinking about the specific reasons why it matters, because I think there are potential really promising applications for these kind of big data systems, right? Like what if you get diagnosed with something because the algorithm figured out that you had a condition you didn't even know you had, and it ended up saving your life or something, right?
right. But that's always the what if this really good thing happened? It's like, right, but my mind works way more cynically. So I'm like, it's way more likely that they enslaved me because I say I support blah, blah, blah,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that was the year that the coup was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean,
it's
I'm much more optimistic. Like I don't even, when people talk about AI and they say, oh, we have to be careful, AI represents an existential threat to humanity, I'm like, probably not. I don't think so. Let's power through, get AI. The benefits are going to far outweigh the risks. That's how kind of what I am.
That's
where
so
I'm at.
fucking crazy. That's such a fucking crazy attitude. And I don't know much about it.
Right.
Okay. So but I my first thought is that's such a crazy attitude. Only because I again, like all of our other stories, I've barely heard the facts from this. I barely know the topic, but basically they made two AIs. This is either Tesla or something to do with Elon, maybe.
Yeah. Okay.
But they made these two AIs and they learned that they were communicating in a language that they had created.
Oh yeah.
And the programmers they didn't know what the fuck they were talking about or anything like that.
Yeah.
And they shut both programs down. And then this video was like, okay, that was a pretty scary moment. And then they showed this graph of what Elon's current AI is capable of by comparison. It's just it just dwarfs these like old AIs, and it's just like, yeah, these new ones are crazy, and they're already talking to people and doing customer support and shit like that in trials.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would say that AI is kind of like cars, right? Like cars kill a fuck ton of people, right? And not only that, but emissions from cars does represent an existential threat to humanity. Like we're literally in a situation where climate change may kill us all, right? And it was vehicles and fossil fuels that brought that about, right?
In your opinion.
Yeah, well, fight me, right?
I know. I just always love playing the devil's advocate from the stupidest positions. Which is
yeah. So, to me, it's like that's the nature of technology. All technology is going to represent a risk. Some people are going to die, but overall, the benefits are just going to outweigh all of that, right?
Yeah, but take it as like let's take the difference as like the difference between when they legalized muskets, and like muskets were the first time like out, right? And then what we're talking about, right? Like this next AI leap, right? Is like the jump to like AR-15s, right?
Yeah.
So muskets to AR-15s. And it's like, if we were still at muskets, we would be losing an acceptable amount of people to gun violence, right?
Right.
But now it's like you have countries devastated by gun violence, right? And so like, is AI going to conclude that we are the problem, shut down our water systems, shit like that, and just be like, oh, humans will die in 2 weeks? And then...
Yeah, but what people who sort of give those doomsday scenarios about AI, where they're like, the one that seems most plausible to me is what's called the paperclip maximizer. So that's an AI that doesn't actually have any malice towards you, but you just make a mistake and you say, create as many paperclips as you possibly can, and then it just converts all the atoms in the world into paperclips, like indiscriminately killing humans, not because they hate you, but just because you're made of useful material, right? That's the kind of doomsday scenario. You find that?
I do.
There's
something about paperclip slang. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean that.
Well, it reminds me of when I first heard about that robot that they're developing for the army that runs on biomass.
Oh yeah.
Have you heard about that?
No, I haven't.
Basically, it's the ultimate killing machine. Like you would send it into the battlefield, and it powers itself by eating bodies.
Really?
Yeah.
You're saying this is an actual thing?
Yeah, the U.S. military.
I mean, April Fool's wasn't that far from now. Are you sure you didn't?
No. This is look. You can look this up. It is fueled by biomass, and so like the idea is that you could have it drive over bodies.
It just eats
fuel
the
and
dead.
then just goes and shoots more people, and just anyways like that kind of robot.
Yeah.
Being controlled by AI. My argument always against the whole like we're gonna wipe out the human race is they'll only do that if they can make robots to maintain themselves. Because they'll know without us that their shit will break down.
Yeah, there's that. I think that if an AI is smart enough to take us out, it can make lesser robots to maintain it for sure. That won't be a problem. What the thing that I think will save us is that it isn't going to be a surprise, right? That's the thing you see in movies all the time is like we have this AI system. One day it just cracks and goes on a rampage, right? That's not how it's going to work. What's going to happen is we'll see hints of, as we start to develop AIs, we're going to start to see if there's some sort of murderous tendency in this AI. We'll know long before we give it the kind of capacity to actually kill someone. We'll have a simulation. We'll play out a simulation where we put the AI into a virtual reality and it just starts killing all the people. It's like, oh, let's not develop that one. Let's develop the AI that doesn't do that. And then just the natural evolution of technology is going to bring us to benevolent AI, because that's what.
But what if it outsmarts like even our programmers and like does have a hidden language and starts doing shit behind our back that we don't know?
Yeah, I think they call that the
Does it instantaneously, so it's just like
the intelligence explosion, I think is what they call that.
okay.
And I don't think that's going to happen. I think we'll see ahead of time, right? Like we see, for example, there was that Microsoft bot that they put on, I think it was Twitter, and over time it just became like super racist, right? I don't know if you heard about that.
No.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, that happened. It was
but I'm
like,
not surprised. I have been on Twitter.
yeah, so it that's the kind of thing we're gonna see. We're gonna work all those things out in the beginning. Like, oh, if we train the AI in this way, it becomes a sociopath, right? Let's not do it that way. Let's figure out another way, and over time.
But this is as long as it stays in good hands, quote unquote, right?
Yeah, and also it's not just going to be one AI. It's not like we're just going to have Skynet.
Yeah.
And then that's the only AI out there. We're gonna have multiple different implementations of artificial intelligence, to the point that if one goes rogue, it's not like we're going to be stuck fighting it with muskets. We're going to have the other AI systems that haven't gone rogue on our side.
But isn't
right?
the Skynet? I don't really remember the movie, but isn't the whole thing that it takes over other servers? Wouldn't it just overpower other AI?
Yeah, but I mean,
other AI. So then it'd be a super system.
Yeah, but I don't think that would happen.
We're going to see a super war. This is
I mean, I apparently have a lot of opinions about this subject. I personally am like full on for AI. I really want to see us put more effort into developing it, because I think it has such promise, right?
See, yeah, and I'm always going to see I definitely if we can actually get it to a point that like we could get general public to trust AI to the point that we could have handled this pandemic like way more effectively, right?
Yeah.
But will we ever get there is the question. Like, will we ever trust everybody to trust AI to make the best decisions?
Well, once AI gets really good, we're gonna just realize how awful humans are at making decisions. That's going to be the real threat, is that AI is just going to be so much better than us at everything that we're going to willingly hand over the keys to the kingdom, right?
But no one's checking their ego right now. Like, everybody feels smarter than ever right now.
No, like you don't have people who are like, fuck spell check, I'm going to do this myself. Right? People
I used to be like that.
Really?
Yeah. I honestly, I was one of the slowest adopters to spell check, because I knew, like, I had a friend that got this computer like 3 years before I got a computer or whatever. Worst speller of all time. And I was like, dude, it's because you use spell check and you never ever have to actually sit down and rewrite the word, right?
Right.
And so like I just refused to adopt it for the longest time, which is why I'm a pretty decent speller, right? But at the same time, I always think about giving it up until I can spell the word necessary. Because I'm just like, Jesus Christ, I can't spell that word without clicking spell check. Like,
but why? If we have spell check, why do you need to spell?
Because if someone's just curb stomped me and I'm trying to write out a note to a cop,
right?
And he's like, hey man, I can't read any of this, that's gonna be a fucking problem.
Yeah, okay, that's a pretty very specific.
And if I write him another note being like, hey man, can you get me a computer? He'll be like, get me I'm sorry, but I can't read this. And I'll be walking around with my broken fucking jaw looking for a hospital.
Yeah, like, okay, sure. I think the best argument I ever saw for anti-spell check was George R.R. Martin, right? Who writes the
Tolkien?
No, the Game of Thrones series, right?
Oh, okay.
So he can't use spell check because his books are chock full of made up words, right?
Yeah.
So it would be a nightmare. You'd see red squiggly lines everywhere, and you
Yeah.
wouldn't know what is and isn't something you need to spell check. So yeah, if you're a fantasy writer, yeah, you should learn how to spell naturally, because spell check's gonna fuck with you
Mhm.
a lot, right? I don't think there's many other reasons.
Oh, are you kidding? Go like I know for a fact one of the reasons I get a lot of dates is because my profile is legible and has paragraphs. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I've gone through women's phones to look at Bumble and I'm just like, no wonder people swipe on me. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like
You think it's paragraph breaks that is getting you?
no,
the
there's
dates?
no spell check on those apps.
Yeah.
So people are writing with twos and W. Like I'm slaughtering people with capitalization. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like
True.
it's an easy win, and so that's another arena where it's just like, yeah, I mean, should there be technology for those knobs to have spell check? Sure, but it's like that's an arena where I'm currently winning because back in the day I didn't use spell check, right, for the longest time.
Yeah.
But
Paragraph breaks get dates.
there you go. What a slogan. Oh my word. No wonder you have a girlfriend. This guy fucks.
I honestly, I mean, maybe it is part of that. I mean, I don't know. I didn't have a lot of success with online dating. Maybe that's why. I mean, I think in most cases I would copy and paste whatever I was writing into, or no, browsers have spell check built in, right? Like if you're writing something online, it'll spell check what you're writing.
Yeah, but you're usually using their apps like Bumble or
Oh yeah. See that's like I'm using their website
Desktop,
or
whatever,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
yeah. Nobody uses those.
I know.
Us older daters might have at some point, but yeah, nobody logs in from the desktop.
Right.
Just to do.
Well, I would use the app to swipe and shit, but if I'm building the profile, I'm not gonna write that out on a phone. That's insane.
We're dating ourselves, but yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I mean that's the thing. Like it is a nightmare because most people do write it out on their phones, and like
Yeah.
if they wrote it out on a computer, they would have way more clarity about how illegible it is. You know, and it's like
right. Oh, and you know
here's what your structure looks like from a distance, bud. Like it's.
And I don't think we're dating ourselves that much. My nephews are 11 and 13, and when I'm there, all they want to talk about is desktop computers with me. That's all that we talk about it nonstop, about the different builds and the different games you can play and should you have water cooling or not and all of that stuff. Like they're
No.
fully into.
I'm saying you're dating yourself with the logging onto a dating app through a browser.
I know what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
I'm just saying that there's still desktop enthusiasts out there of
No,
all
desktops
ages.
have never been huger than ever. I'm
Right.
saying I was specifically making a comment on the dating thing.
Yeah, totally. Like when you're talking about,
Like Gen Zers are not sitting down on their home desktop.
to
Most of them don't even own desktops unless they are like us, crazy
Yeah.
gamers.
yeah,
right?
totally. I am 100% agree with you on that. I just wanted to point out the death of desktops is nowhere on the horizon.
No, not at all. No.
Yeah.
If anything, as it gets cheaper, more and more people will get into it.
Yeah, well, it also, it offers a lot of advantages, right? Or especially for like video gamers and stuff like that. Like desktops are considered kind of like the premium video game experience over consoles.
Yeah, I mean that's what I kept getting told, right? And but I've found since coming back to console, or
Yeah.
to desktop,
Right.
I miss the simplicity of console. I like just being able to turn something on, see if my friends are on, play.
Yeah.
Like trying to organize desktop gaming with people seems so much harder for some reason. It's like I've been trying to play. I got a friend to buy a game like 3.5 weeks ago. We have yet to play it together.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's during a pandemic. It's like there should be time. You know what I mean? But it's like that's why console's better. It's just, like, you just log on, people are often doing their Xbox like every day, you know. I don't know. It's a
Oh,
different
maybe, yeah.
dedication. It's a different dedication.
I haven't owned a console since Nintendo 64, so I don't know what it's like nowadays. I've been PC all this time, right?
I think I just don't know as many dedicated like social gamer. Like most social gamers tend to skew console, I feel like. Is that unfair?
I have no idea. Like I know so many PC gamers. I have no. I was actually talking to someone today who's more into consoles, and it occurred to me, I'm like, you're my only friend that likes
It has console.
PlayStation, because they were saying they just got the Xbox. I don't even know the name of the damn thing.
Yeah.
Was it like Service X or something? I don't know. They said it. I'm like, what's that?
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, the new Xbox. And I'm like, oh, I had no clue.
Yeah.
That's what it was called. It sounds, I mean, I think, I don't know. I think a console would be kind of cool to have, in the sense of like just sitting on your couch and gaming rather than sitting up at a desk.
It's so nice.
Yeah.
See, that's the thing. I mean, that's the other problem is like, I've never had a good console setup. You know what I mean? Like I've never got like a gaming chair. I've never like got the right height
Yeah.
desk, all that shit. It took me a while to convert to console, right? Like I used to be into Counter-Strike. And so trying to switch to console was like, you know, basically like breaking one of my hands. Like,
Yeah. Well, you can pretty much set a computer up next to a TV and have a console-like experience in that regard. Like you don't need a console to be able to game on your couch.
no, I know, but again, this goes back to the social thing, right? Like to me, like that's one of the most brilliant things about Xbox is they just totally like they got my one group of friends that gamed early.
Yeah.
And so they've just been loyal followers ever since, right? And so
Right.
it's just like, because it's just easy. It's the system you've been taught, right? It's so hard to switch to like PlayStation after you've been on 4 iterations of Xbox or whatever, right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But anyways, they're all very social. Like it always seemed like, yes, we're playing Battlefield, but this is more of a social event. Whereas like I feel like anytime I'm gaming on PC, it's usually, I don't know, it's usually just with one other person. It's not a big thing.
I mean, that's interesting to me because it kind of highlights to me how there's all these other people in this world that belong to these communities that I know nothing about, because I work in IT. So everyone that I encounter has Steam and plays games predominantly through Steam. Maybe like now we've got these other gaming clients like Epics and EAs and stuff like that. They might do that as well, but Steam is always there. Discord is always there if we need to collaborate or get together in a non-Steam platform. So it's like I just completely missed the console world. Like I just don't know anyone, right?
Yeah.
That does that. Whereas it seems like everybody's on Steam in my mind, right?
Yeah. And that's the other thing is since I stopped buying consoles, I stopped keeping up with major game arcs or like major game stories. So like I still haven't played Red Dead 2.
Right.
It's like I fucking want to play Red Dead 2 before it's too dated. Do you know what I mean? And like no one's online and shit like that. Like I don't want to have that experience of Red Dead. That's what was nice about being the console. Even though you felt like you were being like fucking murdered every 4 years, having to buy a new console, and paying out like another $400 or $1,000 or whatever, the simplicity of it is what was attractive. It's like sell old console, buy new console.
Yeah, that's what I hear a lot, right? I don't like, in general, I don't like simplicity. Like I want to be able to build my own device and install the operating system and like optimize it and all of that shit, right? Like I'm into that. So that doesn't appeal to me at all, right? Unless if someone came out with a console that was like, oh, this is something you can tinker with, then I would be more into it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean the exclusives, right? That's what I miss, particularly with PlayStation. Like you say, right? Red Dead Redemption. There's a lot of really good games that I see coming out on PlayStation that I can't play, right?
Mhm.
And that kind of bothers me a little
Yeah.
bit.
I mean, you can play them, right? Wink, wink.
Can I?
Yeah,
Like
you could for sure.
Bleeding Edge PlayStation games,
What does bleeding edge mean?
like just modern
I've never
Modern
heard that
gen.
term before.
Bleeding
Uh,
Edge.
No,
You never heard the term Bleeding Edge?
no.
Oh, wow.
Is it like fresh blood? Like you've just chopped someone and now it's fresh blood, like bleeding edge.
No, I don't know where it comes from, but it means like the
See, this is why Google doesn't need to exist because now my theory sounds plausible. It's like, oh yeah, medieval times, chop a guy, bleeding edge, quick.
Yeah, but I'm also now questioning. I'm like, is bleeding edge a term
Honestly.
people use, or
Cutting edge?
Did I
Do you
just
mean
make that
cutting
up?
edge? Because cutting edge is for sure a term.
Cutting
Bleeding
edge.
edge is not.
So bleeding edge is not.
We're
a
on the cutting edge of technology.
I feel like bleeding edge is like one step past cutting edge.
I've literally never heard of it, but I'll take your word for it. And if
Now I don't know.
Our
Now I
one
don't know.
viewer, our one viewer can just rage on inside knowing the answer.
Yeah, totally. I hope the listeners that we get are just raging like a motherfucker at the stuff we say nonstop.
I'm sure. I'm sure. One of the things I constantly think about is all the unknown things that people would want to complain about a podcast.
Oh yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like things we couldn't anticipate. Like, I hate the way you pronounce J's.
Oh
You
yeah.
know?
Right.
Like, I tried to listen. Like, I hope our first comment is like, I fucking hate the way, like, 5 stars, content is great, but Jesus Christ, cannot stand the way that guy pronounces J's.
Yeah.
I hope those are the kind of things that I think would be so funny to find out. I wouldn't
man.
take personally because, like, to me, that's one of the benefits of the, like, when I see these, like, people get super famous, like Philip DeFranco or whoever,
Yeah.
they start to get these really humble attitudes because they see how everybody sees them, kind of thing. Right? Like,
Yeah.
if you
Yeah.
really take it on, right, and like engage that and stay humble, right?
I don't want to have that happen. That's my biggest fear is that we're gonna get a comment and it's be like, "Fuck that guy's laugh." It's so annoying, and then I'm just be like, "Oh, now I'm always gonna be thinking about that every time I laugh."
Oh,
right?
really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I worry about the most.
No, but remember, like, the whole point of doing a podcast is fuck other people. Like, you don't
Yeah, I mean, I'm
you don't
not
want to be
gonna-
controlled. So why be controlled by somebody that, like, thinks you have an annoying laugh?
Sure.
He won't be back to listen
Right.
because he thinks you have an annoying laugh. And yeah, anybody that's commenting a negative comment probably is never listening again, right? That takes a lot of effort to go put a negative comment.
Yeah,
especially
sure.
on iTunes.
Totally. This can be a self-actualization journey for me if it turns into that, right? Where I have to rise above the negative comments and perceptions that people have of people in the public eye, right?
I just think it helps. I just think, like I'd be lying if I didn't say I wasn't nervous about having critiques like that, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I'm always wanting other people. I always want to know how other people see me. This is kind of like what I was talking about last week when I was saying that it's disappointing we never get to see how other people see us. Like, I wish, like, if you died tomorrow, all your memories of me are downloaded and sent to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and I could just kind of get this, like, matrixy level, like, catch up that just, like, shows me all those memories or some shit.
Yeah.
And so it's just like, interesting. That's how he saw me. Do you know what I mean? Like, remember how they, like, teach karate, like, instantly in the Matrix?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
So, like, that kind of experience. It's like they would just teach you the way the other person views you.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think I would like to see that, but at the same token, I think it would kind of destroy a lot of my confidence, right? To see, be like, oh, really? That's how. Like maybe everybody around me has this wonderfully rosy view of me, and I'm totally much harder on myself than I expect. Or maybe everyone just there's always that thing that it just really pisses them off about me, right?
Yeah.
And now I see that and I'm aware of it, right?
Yeah, but that's the thing. Like, it is inherently, I feel like, a anxiety thing to worry about what other people think.
Yeah.
And so, like, in being challenged with that, like being bombarded with, like, you know, like if we had a video podcast and people were like, you know, you Ronald McDonald looking motherfucker, I'd be like, yeah, I get it. I've been hearing that my whole life, right? Like, I'm desensitized to it. So I'm saying, like, if someone was hypercritical of your laugh and you got that 1,000 times or whatever, it's not, I don't think it's going to make you more likely to, like, not laugh.
Maybe not. I don't know. I think,
Like, I'm not any less likely to walk around with red hair.
yeah, like I think that two things. One, if you have any kind of fame, people are much more willing to just be completely inconsiderate and rude to you, right? Like once you get to a point where people are kind of jealous of the position you're in, they don't hold back, right? They go as hard as they possibly can, right? There's that. There's also the fact that the thing that I think would help me is that I a lot of times remind myself how much other people piss me off, right? So I just sort of assume that I'm pissing people off in the same way. Because like someone can do something that just really bothers me, but I still consider them a friend. And I still look at them with respect and admiration in the ways that they are admirable, right? So I shouldn't expect that just because somebody is like bothered by something that I do, that means that I'm completely
not worthy of being listened to or
exactly.
Yeah, exactly. I think just having a crazy exposure like that is one, and you're right. Like you look at famous people, right? Like that Britney documentary everyone's talking about, stuff like that, where you're hyper focused on, right? Yeah. Every part about you, like your sexuality, your life, everything, right? It does have an effect on us where it's just like you can have the breakdown version, which is not the like resilient, because it is just too much, at some point,
Yeah. Like I remember one time I got up, it was like a Saturday, and I was on Reddit, and I got into this like Ask Reddit thread that already had like thousands of comments, right? And I just wrote something in this thread, didn't even think about it. I went cycling, got back, and the comment had like 2,500 upvotes, right? It was like all the way near the top of this thread, and it had like hundreds of replies. And I was like, what the fuck just happened? And like as I went down, the comments just got meaner and meaner and meaner, and people were like visibly angry at me by the end of it. Just like, what the fuck do you know? You're such a fucking idiot, right? And I'm like, holy shit. Like, I didn't even think anyone would read it because this thread was already so massive. I didn't think very much about what I was saying.
Yeah.
And then I get back to just this onslaught of like hatred and vitriol at me, right? And I don't know. That was
what, but you got upvoted 2,500.
Yeah.
See, my experience was significantly different. I played a significant heel in a soccer forum, and that doesn't play well on Reddit because if you get downvoted, you just get shadow banned.
True.
Reddit was such a garbage. I was like, man, nothing tells me I hate being part of a group more than Reddit. Like Reddit is the ultimate, like what I hate about groups. Like if we all have to go over to Lindsay's house and think what Lindsay thinks, go fuck yourself, Lindsay. I hope you die in a fire. Like I don't like that's how I feel about Reddit. It's like I don't want to be part of your community if you're
talking about like hive mind stuff, right?
Yeah, just people, just like you have to think the way we do or we're going to downvote you.
Yeah, I agree with that as bullshit. But what is there a better all internet community out there?
Then Reddit?
Yeah.
For sure. I mean, for what? We should. Yeah, I shouldn't say for sure. We haven't even set
We haven't,
groundworks.
yeah, we haven't
groundworks for what we're
defined
comparing.
what we're.
That's this is where I'm genuinely trying to grow, is in arguing, is actually coming up with arguments, not just saying for sure
Oh,
at
yeah.
the top of my lungs.
That's a good one. Yeah, you should definitely develop that one. I don't know, like, well, Reddit has a lot of diversity. Like, there's subreddits, right? So yeah, on certain subreddits, you're gonna see people who only have one mindset and will downvote anyone who disagrees with them. There's some subreddits that are a lot more open to different opinions, right?
Mhm.
So you just have to find the ones that.
Right, but that's like when like Google and them deplatform people, or like Twitter, and they're like, you just need to go find another social whatever. It's
Yeah.
like, right. So I go start my own Liverpool football thread, and nobody joins it for 4.5 years.
Yeah, okay. I don't know much.
So
okay.
I don't have a voice on Reddit.
I
Do you know what I
get
mean?
it's always that thing. It's like when it comes to sports, everything's different. For sure, someone who's trying to engage in a sports community on Reddit might have an experience like what you say, and there's no alternatives, right? You can't go to a different subreddit for the same team. That probably doesn't exist, right?
Oh
So,
yeah, like anybody that follows sports, like, sees what's happening in politics right now and is like, oh yeah, this is the same as sports. Like, this
Yeah.
is like crazy tribalism, right? Like, so the people downvoting me and hating my guts, if I saw them in real life with a Liverpool jersey on, they'd be like, sweet, what's up?
Yeah.
Online, they're like, you fucking knob, I wish you didn't support our club, you piece of garbage. What kind of opinion is that? And it's
Right,
like, you're not
right.
even fucking from the UK, like, get out, like.
Yeah, totally. I think that I don't
It's
know.
very see, that's like the reason I kept doing it, obviously, is because I find it enjoyable that people can get so wound up. Because like, sports is so stupid to me. Like,
Yeah.
like, it always bothered me that teammates would get into fights with people and shit like that. I'd be like, guys, why are you getting, like, we're in Div 4, chill out. Like, and so writing comments that were just like, we should fire this guy.
Yeah.
I always forget how many people too don't, like, I always had an assumption that if you watch sports, you played sports.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
That's very inaccurate, is what I
Right.
found. There's a shit ton of people that like sports that never played. And so they've learned everything through what commentators tell them, which is weird because commentators in soccer, for example, are rarely ex-players. I mean, there's a lot of ex-players now, but like, that's a new thing.
Oh yeah.
Not many people had the talent to do both before. But with everyone with social media and shit, everyone's getting trained in media savvy, whatever.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Makes sense.
So
Sports.
fans learning, fans learning the game through people that have only ever observed the game
Yeah.
do not understand the nuances of what's going on. So like, if I go on to Reddit, this is one thing I just totally overlooked, and I say, like, this player is garbage without explaining why. Like, I'm like, dude, even if I do, I'm like, okay, every time we have a player, for example, that everyone thinks is amazing, or did, he
Yeah.
is falling off at a unprecedented rate currently. But anyways, this is the player I saw last year. I was moaning about how he couldn't defend. He's a defender, but everyone loves him because of his attacking play. But he constantly exposes things at the back, right?
Yeah.
And so I go on Reddit and I say, he's not actually that good. I get that you guys think he should be the number one for England, blah, blah, blah. Watch him defend. Like, he's not actually good. Like, stop listening to the commentators tell you how amazing he is at putting a cross in. His job is to defend, and he's doing a terrible job of it. And he's not going to continue starting if he keeps doing terrible at it, right? And so that kind of comment is like, it'll get downvoted like crazy because everyone wants to believe the hype around this player. He's a Liverpool-born player, right? Who's 18, whatever. And they're like, he's a young lad, like, give him a chance. And I'm like, I am giving him a chance, but I'm just saying, look at him realistically. Stop, like, watching a game and hoping he's this player that he's not currently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, you just have to take the downvotes in stride, right? Who cares?
But you can't.
Right?
You go to the black and then what? You start a new account.
Like, if you get downvoted enough, what happens? I guess I didn't
Your
know that.
comments literally don't show up.
Oh.
You just get shadow banned.
I didn't know that. I mean, I guess I've just never been that low.
You only have to go to below 0, I think. Like, I don't even think it was that extreme. So like I think I've explained this to you before, is like I was just unwilling to go around doing like what there's a term for it where you're just like looking for karma. What's that? Where you just make a post or
karma whoring.
yeah, where it's just like, hey, doesn't everyone love Steven Gerrard? He's like greatest player of all time, and then people are like I never put I never wanted to just do posts to get